In 2008, a 37-year-old entrepreneur in California was running two companies on the edge of bankruptcy. Tesla had delivered 147 cars and was burning cash. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches in a row and had 1 launch left before shutting down. Combined valuation of both companies, maybe $500 million, Elon Musk was weeks away from losing everything. By 2015, Tesla had received $4.9 billion in government subsidies. By 2020, $15 billion. By 2024, over $25 billion in direct subsidies, tax credits, contracts, and loan guarantees. And on December 20, 2025, Elon Musk became the first human being worth $750 billion. That's not innovation. That's subsidy conversion. The ability to transform government money into private wealth at a scale never seen in American history. And Musk didn't invent this system. He perfected it. The subsidized empire playbook. Take government money when you're small and politically popular. Scale using taxpayer funding. Reach monopoly dominance. Then claim you did it all yourself while the subsidy faucet keeps running. Solyndra tried it and collapsed. Fisker Automotive tried it and failed. But Musk succeeded where they didn't because he understood something they missed. Government subsidies aren't charity. They're a business model. And if you build the right political relationships, diversify across enough agencies, and become too big to fail, the subsidies never stop. Tesla runs on EV tax credits. SpaceX runs on NASA contracts. Starlink runs on FCC subsidies. The Boring Company runs on municipal contracts. Every Musk company is tied to government funding. And that $750 billion valuation isn't based on profits. It's based on the assumption that the government money will flow forever. But here's what history teaches us about subsidy-dependent empires. They don't decline gradually when the subsidies stop. They collapse suddenly, and the pattern is always the same. Government picks winners. Winners become dependent. Dependency becomes dominance. Then politics shift, subsidies end, and the empire that seemed invincible implodes in months. Let me show you exactly how Musk built this subsidy empire, how much government money actually funded it, why the December 20th pay package ruling proves the system is reaching its peak, and what happens when the subsidies that built a $750 billion valuation eventually stop flowing. Because understanding this isn't about hating Musk. It's about seeing the system, and once you see it, you'll realize the richest man in history didn't get there by selling cars. He got there by monetizing government money more effectively than anyone before him. In 2003, Elon Musk wasn't the richest man in the world. He was a dot-com millionaire from PayPal looking for his next move. He had $165 million from the PayPal sale. He invested it in 2 companies, Tesla, an electric car startup, and SpaceX, a rocket company. Both industries had one thing in common: massive government involvement. Auto industry gets subsidized. Space industry is dominated by government contracts. Musk wasn't choosing industries because he loved cars or rockets. He was choosing industries where government money could be captured. Tesla was founded in 2003 by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Musk invested $6.5 million in 2004, became chairman, and eventually pushed out the founders. By 2008, Tesla had built the Roadster, an electric sports car. They'd delivered 147 units. The company was hemorrhaging cash. SpaceX was founded by Musk in 2002 with $100 million of his own money. The goal was commercial spaceflight. By 2008, SpaceX had launched 3 Falcon 1 rockets. All 3 failed. Musk was out of money. The company had 1 rocket left. If the 4th launch failed, SpaceX was done. This is the moment that defines Musk's career. September 28, 2008, Falcon 1, Flight 4. It succeeded. 6 weeks later, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract, not for proven technology, for potential. This was government picking a winner. That NASA contract saved SpaceX. But something else saved Tesla: government subsidies. In 2009, the Obama administration passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Part of that package was the Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Loan Program. Tesla applied and received a $465 million loan from the Department of Energy. This wasn't a normal loan. It was a 10-year loan at 3% interest when private financing would have been 10% or unavailable entirely. Tesla used that money to build the Model S. Without that loan, Tesla doesn't survive 2009. But the loan was just the beginning. The real subsidy came from the EV tax credit. The federal government offered a $7,500 tax credit for every electric vehicle sold. That credit went to the buyer, but it effectively subsidized Tesla's price. A $70,000, Tesla became $62,500 after the credit. That's a 10% government discount on every sale. Between 2010 and 2020, Tesla sold approximately 1 million vehicles in the United States. That's $7.5 billion in federal tax credits. But it wasn't just federal. California offered an additional $2,500 rebate per EV. Other states offered their own credits. Total state and federal EV subsidies supporting Tesla sales from 2010 to 2024 over $10 billion. That's $10 billion in taxpayer money that made Tesla cars cheaper and more competitive. Without those subsidies, Tesla's price advantage over traditional automakers disappears. And it wasn't just purchase subsidies. Tesla made billions selling regulatory credits. California's zero-emission vehicle mandate requires automakers to produce a certain percentage of zero-emission vehicles. If they don't, they have to buy credits from companies that do. Tesla produces only EVs. So Tesla generates credits and sells them to Ford, GM, Fiat, Chrysler, anyone who needs them. From 2010 to 2024, Tesla earned over $9 billion selling regulatory credits. In some years, those credits were the difference between profit and loss. In 2020, Tesla reported $721 million in net profit. Regulatory credit sales that year were $1.6 billion. Without the credits, Tesla lost money. This is the subsidy model. Direct loans, tax credits to buyers, regulatory credit sales. 3 streams of government money flowing into one company. By 2024, Tesla had received approximately $25 billion in subsidies, credits, and contracts. And Musk's response when anyone points this out? Tesla paid back the DOE loan early. True. Tesla repaid the $465 million loan in 2013. That's the subsidy Musk wants you to focus on, the one he repaid. He doesn't mention the $25 billion in other subsidies that he didn't repay because they weren't loans. They were gifts. But Tesla is only half the story. SpaceX is the other half. And SpaceX runs entirely on government contracts. That first NASA contract in 2008, $1.6 billion, was for cargo resupply to the International Space Station. SpaceX delivered. NASA was happy. More contracts followed. In 2014, NASA awarded SpaceX a $2.6 billion contract for crew transportation. In 2021, NASA awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract for the lunar lander. In 2022, another $1.15 billion for additional ISS flights. Total NASA contracts to SpaceX from 2008 to 2024 over $15 billion. But NASA isn't the only customer. The Department of Defense contracts SpaceX for military satellite launches. The National Reconnaissance Office contracts for classified missions. Total government contracts to SpaceX across all agencies over $20 billion. SpaceX's entire business model is government contracts. Yes, they have Starlink, the satellite internet service. But Starlink was funded by an $885 million FCC subsidy to provide rural broadband. And Starlink's biggest customer is the U.S. military, which pays for satellite connectivity. SpaceX is not a private company succeeding in a free market. It's a government contractor with a billionaire frontman. Add it together. Tesla, $25 billion in subsidies and credits. SpaceX, $20 billion in contracts. Total government money flowing to Musk companies over $45 billion. And that doesn't include the Boring Company, which has secured contracts with Las Vegas and other cities for underground tunnels. Or Neuralink, which will inevitably pursue FDA approval and government research grants. Or X, formerly Twitter, which Musk bought with leveraged debt that may qualify for tax deductions. Every Musk company touches government money. That's not an accident. That's the strategy. Now let's talk about December 20th, 2025, the day Musk became the first person worth $750 billion. The Delaware Supreme Court reinstated Musk's 2018 Tesla pay package. That package was originally valued at $56 billion. A lower court had voided it in 2024, calling it unfathomable. The Supreme Court reversed that ruling, saying the rescission was improper. With the pay package restored, Musk's Tesla stock holdings surged in value. Combined with SpaceX's rumored IPO valuation and his other assets, Musk's net worth hit $750 billion, according to Forbes. Here's what that number represents. It's not $750 billion in cash. It's $750 billion in stock valuation. And that valuation is based on the assumption that Tesla will become an AI and robotics company, that SpaceX will dominate commercial space, that Starlink will connect the world. All of those assumptions depend on continued government support. Tesla's EV credits, SpaceX's NASA contracts, Starlink's FCC subsidies. If any of those stop, the valuation collapses. The $139 billion pay package itself is the tell. That's not a normal compensation structure. It's a signal that Tesla's board believes the stock will keep rising, and the stock keeps rising because investors believe government money will keep flowing. This is the subsidy addiction. Musk's empire doesn't run on car sales or rocket launches. It runs on the expectation of perpetual government support. And $750 billion is the market's bet that the support continues forever. But history says it doesn't. Let me show you what happens when subsidy-dependent empires lose government support. Solyndra was a solar panel manufacturer. In 2009, the Obama administration gave Solyndra a $535 million loan guarantee as part of the green energy push. Solyndra was supposed to revolutionize solar. The factory in California was state-of-the-art. The technology was advanced. The future was bright. By 2011, Solyndra was bankrupt. The loan guarantee was lost. Taxpayers ate the $535 million loss. What happened? Chinese solar manufacturers flooded the market with cheaper panels. Solyndra's technology advantage disappeared. Without the subsidy, the company couldn't compete. When the government money stopped, the company died. Solyndra is the cautionary tale Democrats don't talk about. A subsidy-dependent company that collapsed the moment market conditions shifted. Fisker Automotive was an electric car company. In 2010, the Obama administration approved a $529 million loan to Fisker to build luxury electric vehicles. Fisker was supposed to compete with Tesla. The company built the Karma, a plug-in hybrid luxury sedan. It was beautiful. It was expensive. It had problems. Batteries caught fire. Production delays mounted. Sales collapsed. By 2013, Fisker was bankrupt. The government loan was defaulted. Taxpayers lost $139 million. Fisker's assets were sold to a Chinese auto parts company. Fisker Automotive is the cautionary tale Republicans point to. Another green energy failure funded by taxpayers. Both companies had the same problem. They were built on subsidies, not business models. When the subsidies couldn't carry them anymore, they collapsed, fast, completely. Now compare that to Musk. Tesla got the same DOE loan program as Fisker. SpaceX got government contracts like dozens of failed space startups. What's different? Musk diversified the subsidy streams. He didn't rely on one loan or one contract. He built multiple companies across multiple agencies. Tesla got DOE loans, EPA credits, IRS tax credits. SpaceX got NASA contracts, DoD contracts, FCC subsidies. If one stream slowed, others compensated. This is subsidy diversification. The same way investors diversify stock portfolios, Musk diversified government funding sources. And it worked. He became too big to fail. But here's the problem. Diversification doesn't eliminate dependency, it just spreads it. And when the political winds shift, all those streams can stop at once. Which brings us to the real risk, politics. Musk's empire was built during an era of bipartisan support for green energy and space exploration. Democrats loved EVs and climate tech. Republicans loved space and defense contracts. Musk captured both sides. But that consensus is fracturing. Republicans are turning against EV subsidies. The Inflation Reduction Act, which extended EV tax credits, is now politically toxic on the right. If Republicans control Congress and the White House, those credits could be eliminated. Democrats are turning against billionaires. Musk's $750 billion net worth makes him a target. The $139 billion pay package is being called obscene. Progressive Democrats want to tax unrealized gains, which would hit Musk harder than anyone. Musk's political strategy of playing both sides is collapsing. He endorsed Trump in 2024, alienating Democrats. But Trump's base is populist and skeptical of subsidies for billionaires. Musk has no safe political coalition anymore. And here's the timeline. The federal EV tax credit is set to phase out for manufacturers once they sell 200,000 qualifying vehicles. Tesla hit that cap years ago, but the Inflation Reduction Act reset it. If that reset is repealed, Tesla loses the $7,500 credit permanently. NASA's Artemis program, which funds SpaceX's lunar lander, is over budget and politically vulnerable. If NASA's budget gets cut, SpaceX's contracts shrink. Starlink's FCC subsidy was challenged and reduced once already. Rural broadband funding is politically contentious. That $885 million could be clawed back. The boring company's contracts are with cities, and cities are going broke. Las Vegas is the only significant contract, and it's small scale. Every subsidy stream Musk depends on is politically vulnerable, and the $750 billion valuation assumes they all continue. If they don't, the valuation doesn't gradually decline. It crashes. Here's the math. Tesla's market cap on December 20, 2025 was approximately $1.4 trillion. That's more than Toyota, Ford, and GM combined. But Tesla sells fewer cars than any of them. Tesla's price-to-earnings ratio is over 100. Toyota's is 10. That means investors are paying 10 times more per dollar of Tesla earnings than Toyota earnings. Why? Because they're not buying a car company. They're buying the expectation that Tesla becomes an AI and robotics leader. And that expectation is built on continued government support for EV infrastructure, tax credits, and regulatory mandates. If the subsidies stop, Tesla is just a car company. And as a car company, it's catastrophically overvalued. A normalized P/E ratio would put Tesla's market cap at $150 billion, not $1.4 trillion. That's a 90% decline. Musk's net worth is tied to Tesla stock. If Tesla drops 90%, Musk's net worth drops from $750 billion to $75 billion, still rich. But not the richest man in history. Not even close. And SpaceX? If NASA contracts slow, if DoD spending shifts, SpaceX's $350 billion rumored valuation collapses. There's no commercial space market large enough to support that valuation without government contracts. This is the subsidy trap. Build an empire on government money. Achieve a valuation that assumes government money forever. Then watch the valuation implode when the government money stops, and it always stops. Not because of malice, because of politics, budgets, priorities. Government support is temporary by nature. Musk's empire is built on the assumption that temporary is permanent. History says it's not. So what happens when it stops? Tesla's stock crashes. Musk's net worth craters. SpaceX struggles to find commercial customers at scale. Starlink faces competition from traditional ISPs who don't need subsidies. The boring company remains a curiosity. Musk doesn't go to zero. He's too smart for that. But the $750 billion valuation revealed on December 20, 2025 will be remembered as the peak. The moment when subsidy-dependent empire building reached its maximum extent before reality corrected. Here's the part that should concern you. Musk's subsidy empire isn't unique. It's the model. Every major green energy company runs on subsidies. Every defense contractor runs on government contracts. Every healthcare company runs on Medicare and Medicaid. Every agriculture company runs on farm subsidies. The entire economy is subsidy-dependent. Musk just does it more visibly and at larger scale than anyone else. And when the subsidies across the entire economy start getting cut, because debt reaches unsustainable levels, because interest payments exceed defense spending, because the government runs out of borrowing capacity, the entire subsidy-dependent system collapses. Musk is the canary in the coal mine. His $750 billion valuation on December 20, 2025 isn't a success story. It's a warning sign. When one person's wealth becomes that concentrated, that dependent on government support, that divorced from underlying business fundamentals, it signals the system is at peak fragility. The richest man in history is rich because taxpayers funded his companies. That's not capitalism. That's subsidy capture. And subsidy capture always ends the same way. When the subsidies stop, the valuations collapse, and the people who built empires on government money learn what Solyndra and Fisker learned. You can't build a sustainable empire on temporary government support. Musk's genius wasn't engineering. It was political. He positioned his companies at the intersection of climate policy, space exploration, and national security. He made himself essential to government priorities. He captured subsidies across multiple agencies. He diversified dependency. And it worked. For 17 years, from 2008 to 2025, the subsidies flowed. Tesla went from bankruptcy to $1.4 trillion market cap. SpaceX went from failed launches to NASA's primary contractor. Musk went from near broke to $750 billion. But December 20, 2025 wasn't the beginning of a new era. It was the peak of the subsidy era. And peaks don't last. They crash. You cannot build a $750 billion empire on subsidies and expect it to survive when subsidies stop. You cannot depend on government contracts and expect them to flow forever. You cannot assume political support is permanent when politics shifts every election. Musk built the greatest subsidy empire in American history. And the December 20th pay package ruling, which handed him $139 billion and pushed his net worth to $750 billion, will be remembered as the moment the subsidy empire reached its maximum before the inevitable contraction. Solyndra collapsed in 2 years. Fisker collapsed in 3. Musk has lasted 16 because he's better at the game, but the game always ends. And when it does, the $750 billion valuation will be studied as the biggest subsidy-dependent bubble in history. Here's what you need to understand. This isn't about Elon Musk, the person. It's about the system he represents. A system where government picks winners. Where subsidies create trillion-dollar valuations. Where the richest man in history gets there not by selling products people want, but by capturing money taxpayers provide. Rockefeller built his empire on oil. Musk built his on subsidies. And just like Standard Oil was broken up when the public turned against monopolies, Musk's empire will contract when the public turns against subsidy-dependent billionaires. The December 20th ruling that gave Musk $139 billion and made him worth $750 billion will be the high water mark. The peak. The moment before the subsidy era ends and the correction begins. You're watching it happen in real time. The first $700 billion man, built on $45 billion in government money, valued at $750 billion based on the assumption that government money never stops. History says it does. And when it stops, the subsidy empires that seemed invincible collapse faster than anyone expects. That's not prediction, that's pattern. And the pattern is about to repeat. If this showed you a system you didn't see before, if you understand now that the richest man in history built his wealth on taxpayer money and government contracts, then you're seeing what the $750 billion valuation is really built on. Not innovation, not free markets, subsidies. And subsidies are temporary. Musk's empire runs on government money, and when it stops, the $750 billion valuation goes with it.